in the workplace, or just in our day-to-day activity. You don't even have to be in the workplace for you to experience that form of social engineering. But in general, just for the low mid term, the process of obtaining information from another person without them really taking into consideration the harm that it could cause to them, and you presenting yourself as that colleague, kind of like Eric and Telv. The information that you feel comfortable sharing with Eric and Telv is not something that you would share with the guy in India, or the guy in Nigeria, or the guy in Liberia, because you want to protect your information. And that is how social engineering is done. It's very often that is the simplest form of hiking. Let us say it that way. A lot of people are accustomed to the word hiking, but there are several aspects of hiking. So social engineering is one of those where the information is made available to you, the hiker. The person who wants the information is made available to them without them having to put in too much work, but just asking few questions.
Um, Eric, you got anything to add to it?
Sure, I think you guys have said a lot of that already. But just to make a reference to mentioning social media and social engineering. Before social media, there was the word social engineering, so it's not new. It did come about because of social media. It's just kind of using your social affiliation with somebody, using that privilege to get some information from the person that that unknowing to them, like Lopa said. So that's why social engineering is a form of hacking that does not involve a lot of technical resources to, to get information that you want. So that's exactly what social engineering is. Uh, because in the tech field, human beings or people are considered the weakest link ever. So if you can do all you can to get information from them without them knowing, that alone is worth everything instead of just going through the technical means to do that. So social engineering is utilizing the social affiliation with somebody to manipulate them, to give us information that they wouldn't, give us in on a normal occasion.
Exactly that. So I know Lofa started to go into some of the ways that some of the social engineering tactics.
I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
know how
it's
to do.
okay. No. That just lead us into into it. So just want you to expand more on some of them, and then Eric will talk about some of them.
Um, let's start first of all with the very basic kind of social engineering that is often observed. And these are the form of social engineering that is carried on a lot of time in the workplace. But the most recent one, and a lot of you on here, I'm glad that we are on Facebook and we're discussing this, will be the most recent one where you get people calling you. An example would be you have someone whom you're friends with, all right, or the account that is associated with a friend of yours reach out to you and say, hey guys, guess what? Um, we now have a new form of data provision where we provide data to people for a little nothing. Um, but we need to have access to your account. But I will send you a code, right? And that code you need to give to me so that I can have it inputted in the system. And then that way we will generate your account and send you this code so you can get free data for what a money transfer, or the people back home. Meaning the people back home, they would say you will get free data from Orange or all of these things. Now, you're feeling confident because remember, the tag on that account is a tag of a person that you are close to or you know. Like you see Eric Cooley, and Eric Cooley and yourself, you guys are friends on Facebook. All right. And you see Eric's picture. So now you're not even looking to investigate to say, let me pick up the phone and call Eric and say, hey, Eric, what's up? What is this program? So you can hear Eric's voice. Instead, Eric then go through to your account that he really want access to and attempt to reset the password. And then he's communicating with you to a fake account that notification comes to you. You take that code and send it to him, and then Eric now have access, or whoever is trying to manipulate you to get access to your account have that code that is set up by Facebook to prevent people from accessing your account. That is that's the simplest form of social engineering that is recently trending on the social media right now. People just say, hey, they want, because they want access to your Facebook account. A lot of time you will also experience it, especially for those of you who are running major platforms with a lot of followers. If you have a little bit over 50,000 followers, there are these, well, individuals on the social media who simply just want to obtain access to your account. They will utilize the same means to get access to that because they want that authentication, the factor to gain access to that. So they will go through that process. That is another form of social engineering. Sometimes you get emails that tell you, hey, we need to verify your bank account. That in itself is also a form of social engineering. And so there's a lot of that. Not to kind of take up the entire time here, but tell if you need me to go further, I don't mind doing that as well. But yeah, that those are just the very up to date, bright light, upfront form of social engineering that is experienced today.
Awesome, awesome. So I'll let Eric add some because I know he got some to add there to the list.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a long list of tools of means that complex social engineering. Usually, they come with some kind of bidding. They try to lure you into something. They give you false promises. Put something out there that will draw your attention. So they can bring you in. And they also, we just call bidding. And then the pretexting will be um find a way. For example, I see this person that looks look out on the platform and see where how why he talks about who's he's a show host, he talk politics. I know exactly why he likes or why he does. So based on what I know about him, I will actually craft my message that I want to send it to him. You will have no hesitation to come and either attend to me or either click on the link that I'm going to send him. So that's pretty checking. So there are a lot of means, either through email phishing as Lopa said, or through a pretext, you know, and scare tactics, exactly, to put fear into somebody. Those are all means how people can implement social engineering because they want to get to you. So based on the research or what they found out about you, that's how they're going to craft the message to kind of get your attention.
Awesome, awesome. There are so many out there, like we said, but I'd also like to add to that. I don't know if I can talk about that, but the one common one that we mostly see sometimes somebody will send you a message on WhatsApp. We saw that a lot in community groups, even in our local community here. So they find one of the people information and they'll send you text message on WhatsApp and say, oh, I'm stuck because you think that your friend, right, or that your neighbor. I'm stuck in so and so place. I lost my wallet. So I need you to send me $300. As soon as in a couple of hours, I will send it to you. So of course, Lofa have never asked me for money before. So obviously, if Lofa asks me for money, I know he's in a bind. And so people, the headlights do not go off to say, okay, let me call Lofa and really find out if he's in distress. I had to do that with somebody in the community here because when that person asked me for $500 on WhatsApp, I'm just like, this person never asked for money before. So I had to ask the person, like, no, my account got hacked. So it's always important to, pause right away. In as much as you want to help, pause and reach out to that person. Are you really in distress? Do you really need the money? I'm willing to, if you got the money to give, I'm willing to borrow you the money to give it, but I want to make sure it's you because there are a lot of scams going out there. Same thing with Facebook. I've heard people where somebody was hack into their account and was sending about 10, 20 of their friends requests and say, I need $300. Say, I'm Jane, send me 300, I'll pay you back. So can you think about it? If they're sending that message to 20 of your contacts, that's 20 times 300. The chances that probably 10 of them will if you're not a person that always begging your friends for money, they will help because they think you're in distress. so they're not scam 10 of your friends. So it's very important to just reach, just do that due diligence. Just call your friend, call that person and say, I'm willing to help you, but I just want to make sure it's truly you that's doing it, because a lot of scams going on all around here. There are different ways. Like I said, another one we talk about, the ransomware, where people, hack your account and they tell you, say, I got your information, I got your data. They do it at work, they do it in private sector. I got your data, I got your YouTube account. If you don't give me $2,000, I'm gonna put your data on the black market, or I'm never gonna, I'll take your account down, your website down, whatever you want it is. So that's one form. And you can tell me, I think Wolfa has something about dumpster diving. If you want to take a stab, I'm moderating, so I want to talk plenty. So I let Wolfa go for dumpster diving, or any one of you.
Well, that was again that question actually, or that statement came from actual factual, who said, did you all mention or discuss dumpster diving? And dumpster diving, just like the word in itself, dumpster. Dumpster diving is a form of information, or being able to obtain information, um, in a way where you really don't have to intrude in any physical facility. You don't have to go in the building. You don't have to go establish that social engineering form of uh, obtaining the data, because what you would do is, normally homes or apartment complex, or whether offices, they normally will put the garbage in the dumpster. Okay, so what some people would do, they would take their time, and you would think that these people are just, they're mad. They will go through the dumpster or your low garbage can and take some of the papers and read through it. Believe it or not, there is a possibility that sensitive data, all right, could be found on any one of those papers. Some of you probably forget you don't have shredders in your home. You know, the shredder where you kind of cut your papers. Sometimes they send your documents to you, or they send your electricity bills to you, but you think that it's just electricity bill, but on some of those electricity bills you have information about yourself, right? Somebody can come and take that information, your address, your phone number, and other things on there. That person can take that and use it to be able to assess other things about you. But mainly, these things are not happening at private homes. They are fully and solely targeting businesses. That does not negate the fact that it can happen to you in your own private home. So don't take it lightly. If you are in the position, excuse me, to purchase shredder, and you know that you get your letter, you don't need it, shred the entire thing, because once you shred it, it cuts it into these bit in pieces, and then you can have it thrown away. If they will go take it and put it together, that means you either you're probably involved with drugs dealing or something, and they really need to get at you. But nobody simply just want to get into your bank account will really come at you. But dumpster diving, in short, that's what it is. Dumpster diving, where people come into, gather information, but not breaking in your home. Instead, using information that you have already disclosed to them, because you dump it out there. Now it's open. They can go out there and just gather all of those information, take their own time to read about it. Eric?
Yeah. I know, Lofa, before I get to Eric, you talk about, the bills and shredding everything, but the credit cards, sometimes people expire credit cards and, whatever it is, they don't shred it. They just, they can put it in the trash, so it's very important to already shred those things as well. Shredder is very cheap. You can find a cheap one on Amazon for $30 or whatever it is. Doesn't have to be high end, but just protect your data, because this age that we're in, I mean, there's just so much going on there. But Eric, please chime in. You're on mute.
The main purpose of social engineering is to, stay hands off. Don't touch anybody and get whatever you can get. And, in security, they refer to as reconnaissance. So in most cases, the hackers will go and do like a sniffing, do like a full scanning to see exactly what kind of code open or what kind of information available publicly, you know. So passive reconnaissance. So the public can go get whatever they can get before they can go do any intrusion into the system. Or in the case of social engineering, if they try to get whatever information they can get for free. If it is one piece of information, maybe just your name or your address, that's good enough. It's a place to start. So that's the main thing. And one of the things I want to talk about in it after the is called water or hose attack, or watering hose attack. So usually the attacker will observe you. They will try to monitor your activities to see, your lifestyle. Where do you go for party? What kind of friends you have, or what kind of website you go to, what kind of Facebook group you are part of. That you go all the time. So they observe your activities, and then based on your activity, they will plot, to get information from you. For example, if they go to let's say, you know, eBay at all time. That's where you can go all the time. That's where most of the time that way you do all your shopping. So they will find a way to design a strategy, to get to eBay, for them to get back to you. So in other words, they monitor you where you go or where your target go most of the time. So that consider your watering hole. It comes from the word that usually animals go to a particular place to drink all the time, like cows, goats, and sheep, all the things. They go to a particular place to drink all the time. So because they go there all the time, they, the lions, the other thing that they monitor those areas because they know that somebody's going to come in and drink at some point in time. That's where the new waters will come from. But it's a mean or social engineering attack because they type of monitor you and see your habits. Where do you like to go? What do you like to do at all time? So based on that, they plan the attack and come attack. So that's one of the aspects of social engineering.
Yeah, before we move to the next one, I wanted us to talk about shoulder surfing because we're mostly on our phones and on our tablets. So I think it's important we give some tips on shoulder surfing, talk about what is it and how we can prevent that. Go far, you want
Um,
to
Sure.
go?
yeah, I can go in that. And that before I even discuss shoulder surfing, let me just piggyback a little bit on what Eric just spoke about, the watering aspect of information, being able to obtain information, or social engineering. It happens almost all the time. If you have your Facebook page, based on how now the fact that we have um AI being very influential in our day-to-day activity, your interaction on social media is actually tracked. Okay,
Mhm.
if you're visiting, when you have these very commercial coming on your page, it's not simply because those commercials are not coming on your page because they just want to come on your page. It's because your activities on Facebook, whether your colleague is actually linked. If I'm friends with Eric, Eric is friends with Telf, and Telf is shopping with Amazon, and we are friends. That also track the activity, and that is how they create these contents. And the content, then you see, they start to publish them on your page or on your feed, and the minute you start to click on them as part of the mechanisms that are put in the technology with Facebook, it also tracks that, and it sells these information to these various vendors. So while you're on Facebook, I want you to also understand that it's fair to realize that your information or your day-to-day activity is being tracked. All right. And that's why a lot of time people say, look, I don't want to deal with certain web browser because those browsers that obtain my information and makes it available to the public for sale, or to vendors, I don't want to deal with them. So there are other web browser. When I say web browser, I'm talking about like Google Chrome. Google Chrome is one of them. Back then, you had Internet Explorer. A lot of people don't use Internet Explorer anymore, but you have Mozilla Firefox. All right, these are various web browsers that you can use. But are they obtaining information? And heavily, as of late, Google have been put under the microscope and been accused of, being a part of obtaining people's data, access data, and having it provided for other reasons best known to them. So, um, with that said, then let me I'm sorry, I'm getting phone calls and stuff from here, but that's just what I wanted to cover up because you, what Eric said, your day-to-day activities, it is heavily tracked on the social media. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people. I know people who I work with. They're into tech. They don't have any social media platform.
Yeah,
No,
me too.
nothing at all.
Me
Not
too.
TikTok, not Facebook, nothing. They don't want to deal with that. But yeah,
So
I just wanted to
let's talk a little bit about shoulder surfing, guys.
right, shoulder surfing. So you at work, you have your phone, or you matter of fact, you're on the bus. That's the best place where you can actually experience those shoulder surfing. You have your phone in your hand like this. You're texting. Then the guy next to you is sitting and just like he's just kind of watching to see what you're doing. A lot of time they're simply just trying to see whether it's your password. Are you typing your password? Are you accessing your bank account? That person is kind of looking at you. Or even in the office, you're on your computer, you're typing, and that's why you people are provided cubicles. You're in your cubicles or you're in the office and you're typing. We often warn employees, and I often say this to them, please, a lot of the employees that like, at my agency, I frown at them for just having to write. Some of them write their passwords on piece of
Sticky
paper
notes.
and write on sticky note. I found out it a lot. It irritates me when I see that. Some of them save their password in browsers, all
Mm-hmm.
right, so that they can just click on it and it says Vivid website. I don't like that. All right, so anybody can just walk over your shoulder and look at you and see that you're typing in your password. That's shoulder surfing. Then just look and see that whether it's your colleague, your coworker, anything, that is unacceptable. You should not accept that because that information that is gathered from your account can be used in a malicious way and it could cost me my job because if it is provided to the public and we are hacked, then guess who gets fired? Lofa gets fired. He loses his job because he did not do his job. He did not provide the needed prevention. So shoulder surfing is the easiest way of obtaining data. And that is also a form of hiking.
Eric, Eric, you on mute. Unmute yourself to the end of the show.
I got the background noise going on with this fan or
Okay, I
something.
just joking.
Yes, sure. So I was reading something today, and it says that in most cases, if you have some kind of vulnerability in the system or on your computer, you download up patches and updates to make sure that those vulnerabilities go away. So the guy said that Human Superior does not have patches.
That's a good one.
I thought I was doing a lot of this. It doesn't have a patch, so you have to actually train people how to listen, and how to avoid all these social engineering. If you didn't get anything from the social engineering today, understand that it's the hacking of human mind, to hack people to get something from them without like them knowing. So even the shadow surfing I'm talking about is another form of that.
Mhm.
Like you send over somebody, what it on your computer to get information from there. In as much it doesn't sound like something scary or technical, but based on the sensitivity of the information that the person is getting from you. That's why corporations and businesses make sure that all these policies are put in place so that people can start doing that. Whether you're on your phone, somebody sending over you. So you got to take all that into precaution into consideration when you are handling data that are very sensitive. So that's exactly what a shooter serving does. It sounds very simple, but based on what the person will get from you, it can be very detrimental to the company or your business.
Yeah, exactly. When talk about social, yeah, you said when talk about shoulder surfing, they take it to be lightly, but think about when you're on airport lines. Think about when you're in, on the fast food line waiting for food and all of that. So, there maybe some people don't know, but there are screen protectors for your cell phone. I have that on
Yeah,
my phone.
I
So
do.
invest into that. You gotta really come to my phone like this to really see my phone. And usually I try not to be texting on, when I'm in close proximity, because not that I do anything kind of confidential, but my work emails is on there, my work teams is on my phone. I don't want people, seeing the engagement and interaction. So I try my best to not, if I have to do it, I will have to step away. So just a best practice. But if I say a personal phone, invest into a screen protector and try to minimize the engagement when in close proximity. That's just my thought on it. But let's talk about
So tell,
some
if you don't, if you allow me, please let me just throw
please,
this in there. Another
please,
thing that
please.
a lot of time people would think that shoulder surfing only have to do with either um basic things like your computer related information, but think about your credit card.
Mm-hmm,
If you
mm-hmm,
when you went to the store and you're swiping your card, when you have to put in your PIN number,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
person right behind you,
Right.
that lady or that guy behind you could actually just be observing to see whether, I mean, you will put in your PIN number, and somebody would say, but how would they even get access to my to what I would consider how would they get access to my card? Because when I'm done, I'll put my card in my purse. Well, that is not true. Not everybody purchase and take their receipt. Your receipt is also a form of information that they can also use to gain access to your credit card. Now that they already know the PIN, you already make it a little bit more easy for them. So shoulder surfing is often also done at the various grocery stores. When you go to the grocery store, be very careful. When you swipe your card, make sure just look over your shoulder. Just make sure nobody's watching you as you put in your PIN. Or
Mm-hmm.
as of recent, a lot of people just tap. If you're using tap, a lot of you that are using your phones, okay, you also want to make sure that they had the fire protector. There's a technology going around now that, because of that fab authenticator, where you just put your credit card over, that device can actually just, if it is just swapped anywhere close to your credit card, it can easily access and obtain their credit card number and every information. All they have to do is just take that device like this, run it by your wallet,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just run it by the wallet, and that's it. And there's another one where when you go to the ATM, I'm not trying to scare you guys here. I'm just trying to give you. There's another one where it is in the form like a plastic. They actually take it and it's put on the credit card, and it's inserted in the ATM machine. So when you go there, you're not gonna see it. It looks regular. It looks like a regular ATM machine. But when you swipe your card and pull it back out, what that does, it copies
Yeah.
your card number and all the information. So when you're done, that person simply come to the ATM and pull that plastic out, and then just go and roll it on the paper. All right, whether it's one person or two person, they just roll it on. They have credit card information that they can now easily use to do several other things. I just want to say that that's another form of shoulder surfing, and it is very often used to obtain people's information. Be very careful about that when you're in a grocery store.
Eric, I see you nodding. Like, got something to add before we move to the next one?
No, we can move on.
Okay. So, but I know we have been, Rafa already went into talking about for some preventive measures that we, to help to avoid us from being victims of social engineering. But I want us to talk more about it from individuals and the government as a whole. The government Liberia, how they can prevent that, and your employment, or if you have a business, how can you prevent social engineering or minimize the risk? Let's just say that.
I mean, I think in every organization, I think what they push for is, is training and awareness. Because when it comes to that, as I said, social engineering is not a technical failure, that will cause, billions of dollars for the company. It's human error. So the Sorry about that. So
Okay.
the most important thing that you can do is to have some kind of awareness training. Tell the people what does it take or how does it look like, how the hacker going to to be able to try to manipulate the people. Let the people know. If they know, then of course they can take precaution in on how to prevent that from happening. But in the case of email, when you get an email, for sure you don't know the sender, you don't open it. If it has a link, don't open it. Don't click on it. Don't click on the link. If you use your computer, update your operating system, update the application that you're using. Avoid clicking on link that you're not supposed to click on. Or you can maybe have in most cases, most businesses will have some kind of email scanning or
Mhm.
mechanism that can put into place to make sure that they can
Right.
it's kind of context awareness. It know exactly if you read the content of the email, it will tell whether or not the email is some kind of crafted for actually to be socialized so they can grab information from people. That mechanism can go ahead and block that email from coming or either
Mhm.
quarantine that email and put it in separate places.
Mhm.
So it just do a lot of precaution. Like if you know anybody, if you know the person you're talking with, uh, stop. Don't click on it. In most cases, let me just talk briefly about this here. Hackers they use some form of authority when it comes to social engineering. They might come to you, send your email, hey, Alex, they are your boss, or they are somebody in authority talking to you, or they can do something like intimidation. You know, I want you to go ahead and click the link. If not, this is what's going to happen. Put fear in you or some kind of like trust, build trust, urgency. In my case, I don't do anything with urgency. For example, if I'm doing like I have a business, so they'll call my phone line, oh we're doing this, we're selling this, we want to give a business this, or we approve it for the kind of credit card, but the idea is you gotta go ahead and sign the people down. If you didn't do it now, the promotion will be over, so you can't get to it. As soon as you bring urgency into the material or into the business, I start right away. I don't operate on urgency. Those are kind of things that you have to look at or look for when you're doing any kind of either transaction or talking to anybody at all. Knowing those things will help you prevent social engineering attack on you.
Awesome. Awesome. Lofa, anything to add?
Well, and I mean, in that regards, as far as being able, I know you mentioned the government. The government herself already made herself vulnerable. I know you asked about being able to prevent social engineering. I shouldn't have to even get myself involved with social engineering to obtain information from government officials. Have you noticed that every time they're in session, they matter of fact they're on their phones,
Mhm.
the means of communication, they don't have any protected or authentication mechanism put in place for communication. Emails is done through commercial email domains like Gmails and stuff like that. You don't have you don't have anything that is protected. Okay, so if you're using Gmail, you're heavily relying on Gmail to protect your information. But these are the same medium to which they are communicating with other people. All right, Liberia in itself don't even have her own. We don't even manage our own website. All
Mhm.
right, it is managed. It is managed by outside vendor. The last time I checked, there was I mean, there was there's actually a service provider that is in Chicago. I actually have another version in Canada that was actually managing our e-mansion website. I don't know whether it's still the same, but we can definitely look into that like right now and be able to verify that information. That in itself tells you we're not even protecting ourselves. So I really don't have to do much to obtain information if that is needed. I remember 2017, and I will say this and close on this note. 2017, 2016. I kind of play around a little bit, and I was able to obtain information about President Weah's second mobile device that he was using. So I closed it out to a couple of people. I'm like, how is it that the president of an entire country is this vulnerable?
Wow.
Where I mean, his phone is open, and people started arguing. You just like notice, you want to be noticed. You act like you know everything, until one of the guys who actually who was managing that device, Sheikh came to the public, I think, halfway through President Weah's tenure and said, yes, President Weah had two mobile devices. He wrote a whole speech about it. And, Yacindy called me, oh, Lofa, you talked about this. You said this at the very beginning. And Gilman called me. Yeah, I remember you said this on my show. I said, well, some of these things we talk about them, not because we just trying to, put our face to the camera or gain some kind of recognition or publicity, but it's because maybe we have had some kind of experience and a friend or two who taught us something here and there, make these things available to us. So when we are discussing these things, it's very important that sometimes just take advantage. This is free. I'd say free class, free education, free knowledge transfer from our end to the general public. But when it comes to Liberia, I think a whole lot of things need to be put into place. We need to set standards, which are not set as of yet. Too many things are out of order when it comes to security or system security. Let me be specific about that. And we're not talking about physical security, but even system security, data security. We don't have any mechanism put in place to manage data. All right. Data integrity is one of our biggest problem in Liberia.
Just the governance of the whole data.
Exactly. We don't know how to maintain or manage data, the integrity of the court. How are they managing? How are they maintaining data so that they are maintained for years after one judge or one lawyer is no longer available? How are you managing those data? The security. When we talk about the LDEA or the police, how are they obtaining and maintaining? Those are two different things. How do you obtain the data and how do you maintain that data and maintain the integrity of that data? How is it done? You don't have any mechanism put in place. So all of these things to discuss information security and social engineering when it comes to Liberia, I'll tell you, Liberia is so vulnerable. It's as vulnerable as a child walking down the street.
That is
A
correct. That is
3-year-old child that who don't even know the basic rules as to what to do before you cross the street. All right, look left, look right, and then cross the street. Liberia is so vulnerable that anybody can just go and do anything in Liberia because we don't have just the basics put into place for us to make sure that we protect our country.
Eric?
that is correct. I mean, speaking about that, Lufa, I think I made a comment about that. My last year in school, we were told to go, go ahead and you know, do a research, in on any domain or so, but don't touch the system. Go ahead and just sniff, and just first do a reconnaissance, see what is the composer, what kind of posts are open, and all the information, compile it and bring out a report. But you are not allowed to go ahead and take anything of the system. My project was on Liberia. It was on a couple ministries, other things in Liberia to go and see, to assess their network, the government, and other things, and see exactly what they have in place, what kind of security. To my surprise, I don't say what I saw. It won't be of good nature when I say it, but just to say that, Liberia, when it comes to social engineering, we actually probably don't have to worry about that, like Lofa said, because the vulnerability is just too much, in
Just
the
too
air.
many.
You don't even have to even, try hard to do. The reason why this thing have been spoken about in the US, because in other developed countries, because they have so much at stake and they are so worried about the protection of their data. In the case of Liberia, that's not the case. They don't even care about protecting the data. So putting things in place for social internet prevention, it just, probably is not a good, good.
Eric, you're on mute. Like we all know, Labra, there's just so many things going when it comes to technology there. But if we were to put it in buckets, and we do this for education, obviously, but if we were to put it in buckets and somebody were to ask either one of you, what can we do first or next and all of that, what would you say would be the first thing that we need to do?
First,
Anybody?
Alex, Eric? Okay. Well,
Anybody?
first of all, we need to structure the way we have information and how informations are process. All right. And we must regulate a lot of those things, starting with the healthcare sector, the the court, and other parts of the country. We must be able to institute or build for ourselves a network, just maintain our own data, protect it in house. We don't have that right now, and thank God for the fact that we now have, we now have what we call virtual. The virtual world exists where we don't have to really pay for physical facility to
Mhm.
make sure that we have our data center, because we can also utilize, you have Azure cloud services, AWS, okay, VMware. Okay, we can make sure that we utilize those virtual platforms and start to put into place those mechanisms that are needed. But we must value data integrity. That is one major problem that is not even considered in Liberia. The integrity of data. Anybody can just do any and everything, but it starts from the government, because the government is the one that institute those policies and have it regulated, and they're the one who will penalize people if they're not following those basic policies. Just like you have HIPAA in the United States. Okay, HIPAA in the United States is, of course, is specific to healthcare, but it is heavily regulated and monitored by the government.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
if you don't follow through, you know you will be penalized. So the
Mhm. Mhm.
hospitals are paying attention. But you know what? It benefits the citizens. The same thing comes to governments, local government, where you're not going to have, I'm going to start from the very minimum. Superintendents, they don't use their own computers to communicate government related issues. They're using states issue computers. Those are the kind of things that if we can start with those basic, just the very basics, make sure that people who are working with various government, whether local government or you know national government, however they may want to term it in Liberia, they are communicating whatever transaction is being carried on is done through government issues handles. All right, like emails. If you're communicating with another person with government about government related issue, let it be done through a medium that is protected because it is authenticated. You're using Microsoft Teams or Slacks or all of these different mechanisms that are put into place. Unfortunately, you don't have any of the things in place. So we can start, first of all, by making sure that we start with the Capitol building. And that would be my recommendation. Make sure that the entire Capitol building is rewired, all right, network, and we can actually put into place a physical, just a low mini data center right in there, just a little telecom closet. Put something in there and make sure that all of those guys in there are using government issues, laptops, phones, and all of those things. We can start with that. When they start to see the value added, then we start to, just make sure that we can push it across to the rest of the country. But for now, we got to start with the lawmakers. My recommendation.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is correct, Julius. That makes sense. But this is how I look at it. Even here in the U.S., in most cases, if you are called upon as a professional to go do an assessment on any business or any organization, or they call you in to do put in place some kind of cybersecurity policy or implementation of any kind of technology, all you want to do first is make sure that the C-level, leadership are on board. I mean, like the CEOs and everybody on board. The
So,
reason
so.
why I want that done is because without those people help and or support, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to be able to be very effective in based on what you deploy. So I think in the case of Liberia as a country, I think one thing is they're not even recognizing that these things are necessary in the first place. So the first thing is to have the people convinced. You know, in most cases, probably the thing the country maybe it's at that level that maybe hackers are not thinking about it. They're not worried about Liberia, but maybe until we lose everything, maybe
Right.
through something like attack. Take for example, see right now Nigeria doing mobile money, Uganda doing mobile money, Ghana doing mobile money, Liberia doing a little bit of that, but not a lot. So that's why the government is involved totally doing mobile money thing, and somebody go and explore the government before they start looking for solution to patch those things. So one thing we have to find like what we're doing right now, open a forum, educate the people, because the leadership are not convinced that these things are needed. If they do, but now we should have all of them in place. At least the local say at least certain areas, to be to have these kind of services that we are looking at. For example, they are not looking at solving the problem. It- For if you want to if you want, for example, fight corruption, what is the tool that you need to fight corruption? If you actually passionate about it, and technology has to be part of it. So until you are convinced that you need it, there's no way that these people can go ahead and start building networks and putting in policy security, or doing like standards or other things. These are way beyond. Let them get started first. And how can they get started is for them to actually buy the idea that in order for us to fit the 21st century, we have to implement our technology into our governance system.
Awesome, awesome. I heard that or read DEA or LDA, whatever the name is, they're about to automate the whole process. I don't know if you guys saw it. They're about to automate the whole process, the whole drug something. I'm curious to see when it's all set up, how it's going to be, and the data integrity, the governance of data, and just the system. I'm curious to see. Did you guys hear about it?
No, not really.
Yeah,
How is that going to be done? How
I
any
don't
plan?
know. I just,
Okay.
I think I saw a clip on it, or I read something in the papers, one of the papers last week. Did you see that, Lofa? No.
No, but I remember when I last visited Liberia. I think it was a few years ago, about what 3 or 4 years ago. Back then, that was before my late cousin passed, and he was the DEA director, Michael Soko. I visited him and I recommended the implementation of an application, very basic application right now that is used for local government in I mean around the United States, especially when it comes to policing a lot of things. Park rangers are using these applications. Some local police agencies are using them. It's very easy to really implement and manage. So yeah, we had a good conversation about that. And then when I returned, I started to do my investigation and how we can actually have it applied, because so the mere fact that it really wasn't heavy on a lot. It could be just applied base. It could be single handle, okay, or it could just be base. You can have it apply um, based on a WAN environment, like a wide area network. But as of recent, I can tell you, to be honest with you, anything that is done right now with LDEA, I can challenge them, and I don't want to put my name on this, but it is not going to be as successful as it's supposed to be because of the needed regulations. Somebody just wrote on here that actual factual said they will not take these things serious until they can start to experience the real harm or
Exactly.
vulnerability
Yeah.
of it. None of these things that we're saying here, but at least we're doing our part. We can reference these things. But I can tell you that I will wait to see what the LDEA implement,
Mhm.
okay, as that mechanism to control data, to manage how things are done. I could do it, but I can tell you this today: the one of the easiest things that could be done, it's a matter of fact, is to first establish communication. All of those who may be arrested, and I'll end on this note. You can start by notifying the local media. All right, name of all of those who are those perpetrators of drugs. All right, the ones that are bringing every arrest, those individual names should be put in a local newspaper and published the next day. Every community should have those information, the names of those people and their pictures, because just like you get a picture taken, right? You take this picture.
Mhm.
That's where to start because it's in the newspaper. That information is already in the newspaper. And then you also build for yourself a database to maintain those data. Unfortunately, right now we don't have a carding system where you can say, okay, this person lives here or that address based on that. But you can start with that process, just facial identification, and then you can work your way to the rest of it. But for now, for them to apply anything as far as software or any application that will help them just get off the ground running. I really want to see how that works, though, and I will applaud them for being great if that happens. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's coming soon. They talk about it. I think somebody sent me the link. I think the boss talked about it on a radio station or a newspaper, but it's coming soon. So we'll keep an eye on it and monitor the progress.
Yeah,
Um,
it would be nice to really talk to them and see what they try to implement. But as
Right.
Lofa said, it's just because that particular project, it will be so resource intensive that I think DEA cannot finance that. It has to be the federal government intervention before that
Yes.
happens. Because you have to get a database of all the things that are happening. You have to digitize everything, every communication. Or even those are right. You don't have a put it in newspaper or we have social media right now. If you can get a platform that you post those things in and share out on every platform so that people see who doing what, it will help. But the idea is that it's a lot of investment for just a little segment of the government to kind of implement, especially when the federal government is not going to buy into that. If they will buy into that, they should be the people who started the process in the first
Awesome. Well, the night is fast spent. Let's talk briefly about our next topic, which is very important too, passwords. Why do we set passwords? Various ways we can authenticate ourselves, and password length, and what the do's and don'ts about passwords. So, Lofa, I'll let you start with that.
My little handout that I normally give, or my little spree that I give to um agency employees when we are discussing passwords and other things, I always say to them, use a phrase that you can remember. All right. Um, when you are creating a password, you just go and create. You use your dog name. That's the easiest thing. For if I'm looking to get into that, those are the first few things that I'm looking at. All right. If I want to get into Rivers's account, all right. If I know Rivers's on a dog, I'm gonna first of all, there's a thing we call brute force attack. I'm gonna start with everything. All right. Could it be one of his kids' name? Those are the things we start with first. A lot of script kiddies, and then we have script kiddies, the hikers. I'm giving you different kinds of hikers now, and I'm gonna get into Telf's question here about password. We have script kiddies. We have black hats. Those are different kind of hikers, and then we have the white hats. They basically those are people who are hired, all right, the white hats to specifically apply some kind of brute force or intrusion to protect the institution they work for. That means they go looking around to see whether there are any vulnerability. Then one is
pen
observed.
tester.
Right. Then they protect it. They protect themselves from the script kiddies. The script kiddies are those young kids who are sitting out there just want to test things out. They go and sit on the social media, come up with their script, and they want to test it out. So they pick you or myself. River says, be like, you know what? This guy is always on across Africa. Every time he comes there, he's talking trash. So we take his account, and then they just start hitting you with this just random script, and they hit you with it. Eventually you fall for it. They do what they want to do, and for them it's joke. It is like a child playing video game. That's how they see it. They're playing game, they're having fun. When they gain access to your account, they probably don't even want anything from it. They make joke about it, share with their colleagues, and laugh and leave you alone. Those are the script kiddies, and that's how we refer to them. But that's the reason why every time you create a password, you have to think about why it is important that the length of the password is just enough that people cannot easily just get it. I should not be able to just think about someone in your household or a pet in your household to be able to gain access to that. Create a script or create some form of um, what I would say, phrase that you can use and you can always think about. An example I will give you would be something like what I normally would do. Normally, I use an event plus one of my kids' contribution. Then I put that together with a date, and then that's how I create my password. Or something that happened to me, I create that and put everything together and create for myself a password using numbers. Make sure that it comprises of variety of
Characters.
Yeah,
characters.
more special
All right.
characters.
And
Yeah.
right, so that you're protecting yourself. Sometimes people say the password, when you make it too long, you'll forget it. I'd rather you forget your password and reset your password than you make it easier to give someone access to your system, because that's the last thing you want to do. And then you can pay for it heavily. You don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Eric?
So, yeah. To add to that, password is a form of authentication. If you want, if you create an account, Facebook account, whatever account, you create a username. That username is meant to identify who wants to have access to that particular resource or that Facebook page. Then creating a password is authenticating yourself. You say, hey, I am this person and I want access to this thing. Now, why should we have a very good and strong password? Julia said of touch a few of them. They have password attached specifically for password. The rainbow table is a collection of all the easier and familiar password in the entire world. So it's a database that have all of those two passwords. You know, date of birth, the dog name and wife name and daughter name and grandma name, all those things, those are familiar password that they have a complete database. So the rainbow table is there. It's a table that I can use, that a attacker can use. Hey, I want to attack Julius today. Let's try this 1 billion password that people always use and see, maybe we'll be lucky that Julius is crazy enough to use one of them so that we can get him. So that's why it's very important to use a password that personally had nothing to do with you. Because hackers, for example, there is a hacking tool in Linux, Kali Linux. What it does is that it's a social engineering hacking tool. So if I want to hack a particular person, as it tell me, I will get her name on social media, put it into that system. It will go and do a survey, like
Mhm.
or immediate friends, friends of friends, and about 3 layers of friends around Shelby. It will who she's talking to all the time, how long she's been talking to them, what the relationship, all the things, how close she is to the people. So it will gather all the information just to kind of get to her. So if you're gonna use a password, let it be something that not very close, not your Sunday, not your wife day, not your birthday, not because those things they can be easily accessed. They are easily. For example, let's say you post on Facebook today, today's every birthday, oh everybody celebrating, sending some cards and other things. The hackers know my birthday is today.
Mhm.
He knows that my birthday is today. The only thing you need is just few more information so you can be able to get to me. So these are publicly available. So if I'm going to use my first name and my date of birth as my password, I don't even have to do any kind of hacking. I can just try this out and see what or not I'm successful. And just to close up, the reason why we need a very long password, as I said, because of the rainbow table and the brutal attack. I mean, to try to pressurize the computer to kind of spit out whatever it is. But if you have a password that very very short and or it's easier to be cracked by these systems, so the longer it is, the mixture of characters, whether uppercase, lowercase, and other special characters, the better it is for you because it takes a long time for the system to go through and crack this kind of password. That's why businesses and governments and personalities make sure that don't use this password. That's why it's before you play, if your password is not too strong, they tell you, hey, this password is not strong enough. We're not going to allow it. So that's why it's very important because it is a way to give access to your resources that you're trying to access. It's very important to make those passwords very strong.
Awesome, awesome. Another thing, talking about password, but people sometimes I see people they'll use Monrovia, Liberia or something, in our setting. So don't use Monrovia, Liberia. Um, Sometimes people will use that street address, or the combination of the street and the home, the home. I live at 4409 dog, door running, whatever it is, and that they will use for their password. So don't do that. The
Exactly.
hackers are smarter than you think they are. They
Yeah,
are.
I mean, hundreds of people. These are real people that are living in the real world and how
Right.
people behave. Let me give you a little tip here. You know, my if you have problem or to remember password, I understand that the stress it puts on you. Because if you have 4, 5, 6, 7 account all over the place, so you have all these passwords, it's very hard. It's difficult. I think we'll talk about a little bit about password or manager something like that. But what I do is I get a simple password that I know I can remember. Okay, I have one password, Julius, but I can use it in all the sites that I visit. And
Yep.
there's a thing that I apply to it. As soon as I get on a particular site, based on that site that I'm on, if it's on Facebook, I know that this is password. If it's on Gmail, I know this is the password. But I did it in a way that I would not forget it. You know, for example, there's a tip. Let's say, for example, you have let's say Instagram, whatever it is. Get a password that you can remember correctly. You can't forget it, and then go on Instagram. We find a particular word on Instagram. Let's use the word Instagram. You divide Instagram into two or three or four or five or 2424 and don't put your password in between kind of thing. Just so that way you can't forget your password because you know that you know it. And for anything going any site based on the rhythm that you chose to use, you always remember that kind of thing, that particular password. But it's very important that you make your password very strong because if you don't, you are, pretty vulnerable to be hacked at any point in time.
And let me just kind of chime in on here. Somebody, I think actual factual, mentioned on here the MFA, the multi-factor authenticator. Okay, yeah, that's just the acronym MFA. Just represent multi-factor authentication or authenticator. However, where you're using it, but with the as of even Facebook right now, they to some extent they are utilizing the multi-factor authenticator. That means you have multiple or way to verify or validate that you are who you are, such as they either sent you a pin to your phone. They are different. They have the Microsoft Authenticator. You can install it on your phone, so that way when you try to access your Facebook account and it sends you a notification, you accept it using your thumb, your fingerprints or however. But the multi-factor authenticator is good when you are ready and you're using that key password. And let me give this to you guys. So a lot of you are here, whether you're in the tech world or you're just a home user. Um, Go to Bitwarden. All right, Bitwarden is a form of password a reservoir. You can use Bitwarden to store your password. If you're somebody who have several accounts out there, but you just don't know how to remember all of the passwords to this account or the links to this account, Bitwarden can be used to store all your password and store the links. All you need to do is to remember the the primary password to log in. It's web based. You can also install it as a client version. When I say web based, I mean you can go online, you can access it, create your account online, go there, put in your password, store your password, save it there. The client version is you can download the application, install it on your phone or on your computer at home, and then you can log into it. But it stores all of your passwords. So nobody's going to access it. If that password, unless you made that password available to somebody else, they're not gonna. That is one of the easiest way to store your password. Instead of you having to write it down in your phone or write it down on your notepad so that you can keep it, or if you're like River Says Pro, you write it on a piece of paper and keep it in your car. You don't want to do that. Use Bitwarden, and it stores all of that information for you. It's accessible to you anywhere you go, especially the web version. Even if you install the client version, which is on your computer, you if you were to travel somewhere else and then you forgot your password, you can go online. It is also accessible via the website. So you go to baywarden.com, log into your account. You will have access to that password and other things. That way you can use it in any way. So that way you're not walking around with a pocketbook for the password in case you drop your pocketbook, somebody else find it. I think information is available, but you're walking around with it. That's just I just told to share that out with you guys. For those, it's free, but you can actually purchase the premium version of Bitwarden and use it too. I've been using it for the past at least about 5 years now. I've never had any problem with using Bitwarden. Go out there, use it, and enjoy yourself with it. They make it available to you. If you want to get the premium version because you have a business, then you can subscribe to the premium version. But I still have it from back when I was being a consultant to my current password I work and other things. Don't try to come and get mine because you're gonna have me.
Yeah, I think Riverside Pro has a question there. Is it okay to use the same password for multiple accounts?
What was the question again?
Riverside Pro says, is it okay to use the same password for multiple accounts?
Yes, I would say yes. It is okay to use the same password for multiple account, but my recommendation would be to make sure that you can tweak it a little bit. An example would be, let's use the word enterprise, and I'm gonna type it here. All right. Um, a electronic fix electronics. How you doing, boss man? All right. So here's something. All right. So we have enterprise. You see that? Now I can turn enterprise into a password and I will spell the same enterprise here. All right. Uh, let me see here. All right. Let me do that. You see that? It's
That's
the same
awesome.
pass. It's the same
An
word,
enterprise.
same word, but you notice that something changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The three represents the E, the N, the T, and then the dollar sign represent the S. But if you look at it, it spells enterprise. All right. I can use the same password. I can turn it around and use it for another account without having to change anything in there. I can use the actual E and turn the three in the middle over there. You see, like Eric was talking about, right? It's the same thing. You're using the same password, but you're just moving
Thanks.
letters and characters around so that you save yourself. You know the concept is in your mind. You know you're trying to spell enterprise, but how are you doing it this time around?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah. But
That
otherwise, Riverside Pro, if you are actually doing literally, they just bare bones same password for multiple accounts, the answer is no. Because if one account is compromised, the
yeah.
possibility other account will be compromised. For example, if my Gmail is compromised and my password is the same as my bank account or something, then the
Yeah.
hacker is very happy to go ahead and find what kind of bank I'm banking with and try those password out. So it's not a good idea to use that. But as Julia said, just modify it in such a way that you can remember, but not exactly the same password because
Right.
then of course there's no need to have a password. You're going to do
Yeah. Um, so I wanted to move to the next one before we get the password manager. Sometimes people think like, oh, I have a password, so I don't need MFA. So let's talk about the importance of that extra security layer.
So let make sure people understand. I mean, I know a lot of people understand what MFA is, but
Mhm.
let's see exactly what it is. It's a multi-factor authentication. So the word factor has to do with different areas that those authentication going to come from. For example, something that you know, which is your regular password. When I say what is your password, it's a 1 2 3 4 up to 10. That's my password. You know it. Nobody can tell you that. That's a one factor of authentication. It's something that you have in your hand that you carry with you. For example, a key fob. For example, if I want to work in my work using maybe multi-factor authentication, they say everywhere you get out the door, first thing you do is put in your PIN. I put in my PIN 1, 2, 3, 4. That one factor. I say, okay, this is done. What's the other factor you have? I can't use another number to do that because it's one factor. I have to go to another factor, which is maybe something that I have. My
Right.
key card in my hand, I put it at the door. Or something that you are.
You
It
are.
could be your fingerprint, it could
Mhm.
be your eyes on your face detection,
Mhm.
it could be in your blood pressure, it could be whatever the situation is, but it can't be in the same factor. It can be something that you know 2 times, one of each. There's one more that they put there is your geographic location. For example, if you some jobs do that. If you can log in, on your phone on your application to check in, your hours or the login, the time tracking.
Mhm.
They do it in a way that you cannot be like maybe 50 feet away from the building
Mhm.
to be able to do that. Those are geographic, geographic limitations, so you can authenticate yourself. So those are multiple factors. So that's why it's very important to do that because if you have just a bare rack password, if they have a go ahead and get your password, there's nothing else to stop it from going further. But if it gets your password and it asks you, hey, can you show another factor of something that you have? Or can you just show your fingerprint on your phone? For example, my phone right now, we find it, you're not going to get into it. There are a lot of factors that are put into place that you can put my password, you can put my PIN, but it got to be multiple factor authentication. So that's why it's important. So a bare password by itself is not sufficient. That is
Mhm.
just because in security you got to consider multi-level of security implementation. Not just one level of security. Simple example: you get your house in Liberia. What do? You put fence around it, right, so that nobody can enter it. And then in the fence, you have dog, bad dog. You get your dog in the fence, and then you go for window bars. So you got to implement a lot of layers of security so that when one of the layers is compromised, you can have security at least. Or maybe you can have time to kind of catch a person while the person is entering your house. So it's very important to not just relax on just one password, for authentication.
So we have a question for actual factor. Lufa, you want to bring that up? He says, which factors are the best to use when using MFA? That's
Um,
the best ones, in
Eric,
my
you want to go?
opinion.
I mean, I
Well,
really.
I mean, I just need that. I mean, password for sure will be the what to start because every authentication or system will require a password.
Mhm.
But the best one is biometrics. Will be something that you are. It could be your fingerprint, it could be your facial recognition, but those cannot be duplicated. There's no
Yeah.
way somebody can get my palm, my fingerprint. No, fingerprint are very unique to me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the most important, most effective one will be your biometrics. Those are something that they can't compromise. The key file might be, is another form of authentication, but you can replace it, you can lose it, but you can't lose your identity as a person.
Right. Well,
And then,
so often, Lufa, you want to come in?
oh no, I was just going to support
Yeah,
Eric's
please.
statement about about biometrics. I think that is I will support the idea of using bios because it helps you out a lot. A matter of fact, if I were to sit in and discuss security, I think that is the best form of security. To be honest with you, um, a lot of time in the movies, people see where they cut the person finger and use the person finger, use the
Yeah,
person finger to get their thumbprint.
that's
I
right. That's
think
the
that's
way
the only
to
other way you can really get it. But yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah. No,
start
but I'm not copying you. I saw a movie where they had to go in the grave and dig the person out and take their fingerprint and open doors.
right.
Wow.
But yeah, to be honest with you, I would really recommend people start using the MFA. And again, that's another again easy and free. Okay, the Microsoft Authenticator is another free app, guys.
Mhm.
Free. You don't have to pay for it.
Let
All
me
right,
drop the link
you,
too.
you, you download the Microsoft Authenticator, and you have it on your phone. You create your accounts on your various applications or whatever. It's with you. You can use it everywhere. Everywhere that Microsoft is on the minute you log into your account, it will notify you, or you need to put your PIN number, or if you need to use a PIN, if you decide to use your your fingerprint, whatever you want to use. So I recommend that you download that the Microsoft Authenticator. If you got question about how to use it, how to create your account and set it up, feel free to hit any one of us up. I'm pretty sure we will take our time to kind of walk you through the process. But that's another good way to go about it as well. The MFA.
Awesome, awesome. So another one there on passwords. Oftentimes people think, once I have my password, that's it. So let's talk about how often you should change your password.
Um, for me, when I served as a system administrator, I was very straight on 90 days max. I mean, it's annoying to a lot of people, a lot of end users. They hate
Yeah.
when it's a 90-day. They hate
Mhm.
that. But you know what? I need my job. You're not gonna sit here and not do that. Besides, as part of Microsoft security mechanism, you know, that is actually a standard
Yeah.
90 days, and
Mhm.
then you can kind of cut it through. But I just follow that, and to some extent, I make sure that I monitor it. Yeah, you're not you're gonna change that password every 90 days. You will change that password. I will force you to change that password. Well, because again, what's said as
Will lock you
it's
up.
going to be a system policy. Yeah, it's gonna be a policy again
Yeah.
because group policy, and
Mhm.
when it comes to setting a password, it's done through group policy. When you have users being added to your account as part of your group policy, you set a specific amount of time. But my recommendation to anybody, um, for enterprise level administrations, I would say 90 days. For home user, at least try to change your password. Maybe if not 90 days, at least make it mm, at a little
Six,
bit, maybe
4 or 5 months.
yeah. But personally, yeah, I said 90 days. You make that a standard for yourself, benchmark 90 days because you're protecting yourself here. Remember that. Some of you walk around with your bank accounts in your phone. All right.
Right.
Some of you walk around with your 401ks and all of these things. These are
Mhm.
very sensitive
Mhm.
information. So if
Mhm.
you were to change your password every 90 days, just think about how you're protecting yourself, how you're protecting your family, and other things. And even if you were to misplace your phone, you're protected to some extent. So that should not be something you should be worried about. You should appreciate the fact that you're being made to change your password every 90 days. That's only what 90 days or what?
Yeah.
How many
That's
months is that?
Three
And
months.
that's just best practice, quite honestly. Everywhere I've worked, it's been 90 days. I know it can be, paying the rear, on a personal level, but it's just a good thing. I've seen people leave their phones in the bathroom, in the, work bathroom and stuff like that. So just think about it. If you don't choose your somebody get a hold of your phone, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I
To,
think,
to
go
add to
ahead.
that very quickly, look, let's talk about policy now. See the password and how long you can change it for. Those are non, they're not people like us saying it. You're not local saying as a system administrator. Those are policies from the company.
Mm-hmm,
The people that
mm-hmm,
pay you, they say, hey, every 90 days change your password. You
mm-hmm.
can't argue about that. That's what I say. In order for Liberia or the government or the country to get involved in this thing, the higher up has to be involved. Take for example, you go tell Liberian Congress right now that hey, you have to change your password every 2 weeks or 90 days. They'll be venting. So who brought this guy here? This guy is crazy. You know what I mean? But if that was a mandate from the government that you have to, as an employee of the government, they can't do anything to that. That's my point. And just to, you know, 90-day password, the reason is if your password is compromised, and let's say, for example, I lost my bank account and it was hacked, and they haven't had my password for, they went my bank, nothing there. Maybe negative, $95 in my account. They're not going to do anything right now, but they still have your password. They can wait until you get more money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe down maybe 4 months down the line, you get more money, you get a tax return, they can get lucky there and take the money out of there. But if you're gonna change if you're gonna change it at least every now and then, even though they have it, but before you get that money, probably it already changed. It's a good habit, So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's why important it is.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go into password management. I think Lofa already talk about Bitwarden, but let's look at it from government Liberia or for small business. How is that helpful? Is there any other password managers that you guys like to recommend other than Bitwarden?
To be honest with you, when it comes to Liberia and the application of technology, it kind of it's a sticky place because the, Tev, let's talk about the people out here who really want to benefit from it because Liberia people ain't ready.
If I'm already, okay, let's talk about everybody.
No, but
There-
the
there's
reason
a
why
lot
I'm
out
saying
there.
that, the reason why I'm saying that though is because of this though. For an entire country that don't even have
Yeah,
IT
the
as part
infrastructure
of
is
their
not there.
budget,
That's why.
you know there isn't a budget for IT.
Yes,
No,
yes,
no,
I
no.
noticed that.
There isn't anything.
Yes.
Have you gone through the budget that is provided? Information technology is not considered in the budget. So how can someone really apply a lot of the things we're talking about? Because even though Bitwarden is a free application, but when you're using it at enterprise level, you don't want to use the free version of it. It's just like you mentioned Linux. Linux is an open source software, but when you're using it at the enterprise level, you want to have that enterprise support that comes with that flavor that you're using. So
Right.
if you were to go to Liberia today and say, guys, we need to make sure that all of you here, all right, we have a standard put in place as to how you manage or do these things, emails and other these things, because it will be applied to IT. This is IT requirement, all right. And when it is required, it don't matter who you are. You're the president. The president is also, I mean, open, and he's also accessible to all of these things. You cannot stop what is expected because we are protecting data. And this is why I spoke earlier about data integrity. To be honest with you, to have all of these things apply, the Eric, the Telf, Titus, all of you guys don't have to move to Liberia and go with your work to make sure the guys follow instruction. But it would be a difficult thing. You really think you can tell Darius DeLon to only use his work related phone or laptop to communicate with other people and not his personal phone? Good luck with
or,
that. I mean,
don't use the work phone after work hours.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because that's another form of regular. Yeah, don't use the
Yeah.
work phone after work hours. And of course, um, we get to monitor all of these things. Procurement could also be done through IT. All right.
Yeah.
If you're purchasing mobile devices and we're
Right, right.
managing all of these things, procurement goes to IT. We purchase all of these devices. We supply them to people. We maintain them and monitor how they're used and all of those things. So all of those aspects of it, a lot of them will not want to buy into it because they will feel like you're driving or you're dipping into their little cuts.
The little chopping.
Right. So I just heard that the other day there was a lady who I think at the LTA, you brought in Patrick Hunter. Then you're telling this lady who's not terminated, but you're asking her to provide the computer that she was using to track sensitive data. You want her to give this computer to police officers who are not asking for this. They're not requiring. It's not required based on some kind of court order or an investigation that's been conducted. You're telling her to hand over the laptop that she's using that has clients' information on there. So again, that in itself just violates data
Yeah.
integrity. Who are you?
Exactly.
Why are you doing this? Okay, and but these are the guys who coming in now to take over. You see the level of I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
How
sorry,
can we even trust you with the data and even the
right?
computer? You
I mean,
know.
Exactly.
there's a change of custody, and there has to be
Mm-hmm.
who has the data win. So you can just
Mm-hmm.
give it out to
Mm-hmm.
somebody like that. So I think
Yeah.
the best way to start is to just digitize the government. Talk about security right now. Run some wires and computerize the government. Every ministry has to be computerized so that the government in itself would connected together, communication. They have a network for the government itself. They can worry about one password managers and security
Mm-hmm.
application and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
standards and because I mean we can't. For example, I'm not quite sure there's a domain for each of the in the ministries. You
Mm-mm.
know,
There's
they're
not.
not there.
There's
We have to
not.
be able to communicate internally as a government. Somebody from Ministry of Public Works can send an email to this person, just by click a button without leaving the government network. You know, So those are the basic requirements, and the key is that we have to convince people in position to see that these things are very necessary.
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we have done our part. So the viewers, it's your turn to call in, Lofa. You want to
Yeah,
put a number, and then
yeah.
while we're waiting for calls, Lofa will bring out the comments. Because we be having some question in the section there to bring out those comments to see if we can address them while we await someone to call.
And yeah, like Tev rightfully said, the phone lines are open. For those of you who want to call in, if you got questions, you want to chime in. We know some of you probably on here tonight. You're into tech, and we probably spoke of something that we may not have been detailed about, and you have a little bit of experience with it. Please, by all means, feel free to call in, share your idea with us. Let us know if you, again, we announced this I think last week or the week before. We are definitely interested in more people to come and contribute to the panel. If you are into the tech world, all right, and you would like to help our community, we appreciate it. Let's take our first caller here.
Yeah, we're getting quiet. I like for people to call.
River says, bro, let's hear from you, boss man.
Yeah, man. Look, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. This is a great topic. You know, this topic, I think that's my favorite. Since you guys been because this one hits home. Like I wrote down that, you know, I was just like you explained it, man. It's just like, look, like you're menacing people, you know, just like this guy just called me early in the morning, it was 6 o'clock. He said, oh, Luja is having a meeting. I'm gonna stay in your call, blah. And the dude watching me, and then I'm like, oh, Luja having a meeting with Prince Joseph. You know, all that emotional kick in, bam. I said, well, Luja invited me to a meeting. I must, feeling great, and then get that call, give it back to the guy, bam. But my thing is, guys, how effective do you guys think these countermeasures are? Because let me just use the Patriot battery, military term, where the Patriot battery is there to knock down any missile coming to that particular country before it even lands in the country. So, but then these people from WhatsApp, they decided to send me before they could send me the alert. I was kind of in between two of them. Who should I click on? Well, I already sent my information. So why are they? I mean, what's the deal? How effective are these countermeasures? Because the bank, for my bank, when I go, usually when I'm sending money to Liberia, using my bank card, they will alert me. It says you yes or no. Then I will answer. The bank is effective. But when it comes to the social,
Did we lose him?
I think we do.
the system of social media effective so that they can get to the hacker before they reach us.
So River says, that's a great question. So River says question here was, and I'm sorry we got disconnected partially to. My daughter was coming in. She made a strawberry and chocolate. She wanted me to eat it on the show.
Look at you, man.
I was trying to mute her at the same time. But River says question is, okay, I'm tasting it right now. I am.
You like it?
I really do like it. Thank you, mommy.
And Giselle made it.
Yeah, Giselle made it. Thank you. So good. Thank you. All
There
right.
you go.
Dark.
Make it complicated. You have said that a long time.
Right. All right. So River says question is the multi-factor authenticators and the mechanisms that are put in place to protect people. How effective are they compared to the banking system and other institutions? I would let's hear maybe Tell should tap on this one a little bit because she is actually into auditing and with the whole security. Social media, the social media mechanisms, security mechanisms that are put in place compared to that of the other institutions like banking and others, how effective are they?
What a rating today. So I'm not talking plenty.
Okay.
I'll keep it for that side. Let's talking. No, at all. Now tell me if I have to. Yeah, I'm already. So let me fly low.
Eric,
Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out.
Sure. I mean, for sure, it depends. It depends on the social media company you're talking about because when it comes to security, it's very expensive. It's one of the expensive things that a corporation can undertake. And the reason why they do that because they have valuable information or data assets that they're trying to protect. So the bank, they allocate a lot of resources and there are a lot of mechanisms in place behind the scene. You know, take for example, if you went to a bank and open an account, you put a username, you create a username, and you create a password. That password is never in a plain text. Let's say, for example, if I want to bank my bank account and I say my password is 12345 6, and I hit submit, the bank automatically encrypts that password and they found what they call a hash value. They pass that password through some kind of algorithm and then you know it spit out some numbers that are completely different from your password. It's a fixed length of numbers. So that particular hash is stored on the bank server, on the authentication server website. So it's stored that particular number. Not in plain text. It will encrypt it and hash it for you. So anytime you go back to your bank and you open usbank.com and you say, hey, what's your name? And say, hey, my username is this. And say, what is your password? And you put that password in again, 12345 6. That password is not going to the bank anymore. What happens is that it takes that 12345 6 and hash it before it reaches the bank. It will rehash it and compare the previous value that you saw before when you created the account to the new value that you try to log in with. If it match, the bank will allow you to log in. If it don't match, the bank will say access denied. Those kind of resources, I don't know how much of those like that social media companies can actually, invest into those things. It depends. Maybe Facebook and Google can do the kind of thing, but it depends. So the system is different. So it costs a lot to implement it. So, but when you talk about how effective are these, there is no 100%, you know, vulnerability free environment. Risk is never eliminated 100%. There always has to be some kind of risk. You either accept the risk to an acceptable level and move on, or if you can mitigate the risk, go on and mitigate the risk. But it's not a 100%. Me go and relax. I create my password and everything is free and everything is nice and cool. No, that's not the case. Layers of defense. The what MFA is, is a layers of defense. So put much as you can in place to protect your asset. That's the only thing you can do. There's no 100% safety when it comes to even the bank itself. Bank can be hacked. There are a lot of hacking going on these days. They're crazy. Big companies. So nobody is safe anywhere. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And,
didn't
and,
want
and
to say anything, but I can't be talking about bank. I don't talk because I work now for a financial institution. Even though it's not a bank like bank you can go in, and make deposit and withdraw, but it's a financial institution. But there are a lot of solutions. There are a lot of things they have in place to protect the customer. Um, and they're constantly monitoring and sometimes and then by federal or state guidelines they have to assess their environment and report that to federal and state government. And
yep.
that's where people like us come in because we got jobs. That's what they hire some of us to do. So then I have to look at the entire cybersecurity landscape of our organization, what the network people are doing, what the people that customer face dealing with consumer accounts or everybody what the vault management people are doing. Are they running their scans, where the scans what the scans look like? Are they patching? Everybody do a 360 of the environment and then report those threats or gaps that we call it that we have to the CISO or senior management, and so that if heads need to roll in 5 words, heads will roll, and stuff like that. In most organizations, they have a standard, like a threshold, like our maturity level has to be here. Our risk level has to be this percentage at this level, and so they strive to meet that. And so they're constantly doing those assessments. And it's not only from outside, but also inside too. We have insider risk and insider threats, but also scanning those things. Also talking about the hackers, And I'm glad Eric said there's no, foul-proof system, and that's why organizations, they are constantly testing the environment. Sometimes they would do those test the data centers, or they would do those disaster recovery tests that could mimic like a hack. So if Lopa was a hacker and hack our system today, are we able to come back up in 30 seconds or 1 hour or 2 hours, things like that? All those kind of things. Those are different mechanisms they have in place. And so I don't want to bore you. I don't want to talk too much because I'm moderating. So I just want to talk small. You have to take it away. You have to take it
Okay,
away.
we can sit here and listen to you talk all day. It's all good, tell. But 12 actually mentions, and River says in response to your question, I would tell you, when it comes to the social media word, you are your own defense, as far as protecting yourself from hackers. Because remember, with the social media, well, a lot of people don't realize it is a money making machine. You probably may not have already, gathered this, but they gather data from you based on what you're accessing all the time, and that information is provided to other vendors who are also looking for that information, that data, to provide products to the general public. So if you're often on social media and your colleagues are sharing maybe publications about, let's just say, politics, and you're often hitting on CNN and stuff like that, that is actually, that information, that data is gathered and then provided to maybe CNN or the Daily Observer. And they say, okay, how many people are actually accessing this data from this location? So you would not get 100% guarantee on security. And in the real world, we have something called the 5 nines. You are to provide uptime, your uptime for your network is 99.9999999%. That is your goal. But is that something that is guaranteed? More than likely you will not get that. You will not get that 99.99999% uptime, because the uptime that we're looking for is how much time the institution have network available without any form of disturbance. All right. People have emails. They can come in, get on the email, get the work done. They're not being bothered. They come in, they have access to the internet. Sometimes you come to work, you try to log on your computer, it says not connected to the internet. All right. That's a down time. You don't want that. No institution want that. No agency want that. They want to make sure that they gain the money work out of their employees. So in our capacity, whether you're on a network team or you're just on an IT support team, you want to make sure that all of those employees are up and ready to work. So you will institute some kind of mechanism to make sure that everyone is actively productive, to make sure that you can come close to having to hit your 99.99999% uptime. Compared to the banking institution, they have a standard. If you record at the very beginning of the conversation, what I said to you is standards. We must put in place standards, and we must value data integrity. The banking institutions have what they call the Bank Protection Act. All right. What they do is they institute this standard that is expected. They must make sure that all of these regulations are met. You can't simply come here if you're not meeting those regulations. You can get fined by the federal government. That is not an if and end. That is not an if and end. If you're not doing those things, then the federal government notice that you are not abiding by those regulations. They can fine you or possibly shut down your entire institution.
And some of them, talking about financial institutions, your license or some of them they give you a license for depending on what kind of business. Your license can be even revoked. So if just for example, if you had a wire transfer license or whatever it is, and you don't file certain things, they can pull that license back until you
Your
file.
license could be pulled, right? And that's why the BPA it requires, like I said, the federal institutions, the supervisory agency, like the federal institutions have another branch of people that actually supervise all of these things. All right, so they have to the minimum standard has to be set, installation, maintenance, operation, security. So you see where it comes in. River says it's not gonna be as that of your social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and all of those things. So you have to be the first line of defense for your social media platform, and that's why it is very important that you first of all address that part of it. No going, no if and about it. You're not regulated on your social media platform as compared to the way your banking institution, because it's a financial institution, is highly regulated, just like healthcare, highly regulated to protect your privacy, to protect your money, protect your family. All of those things are put in place. Social media, that is not the same. They have standard or regulations put in place, but they are not as stringent as that of financial institutions.
And we can't go with all reinforcing. I know Eric talked about that at the beginning, but training awareness. So talking about your money, River Says Pro staff are constantly being trained on these different social engineering tactics and other kind of things. So once they see these red flags, I'm not used to Lofa Julius withdrawing 5,000 all the time from his account. So if they see those unusual activities, then they must reach out to Lofa by email or by text or whatever it is, or sometimes just put a hold on his account, just block his account until they can make contact with him, because it's suspicious for him to be withdrawing this large sum of money based on the trend of his account. So things like that. But we can bring up comments if we don't have any calls. We can just bring up the comments and then we can draw down the curtains.
Okay. Let me see here. This one here, actual factual, sir. Should a 90 days frequency of changing password be applied? I think we addressed that earlier. To our personal use of password, or it's only necessary. What are your thoughts on that? I think this is you can apply that. My thought is apply it to your personal your personal use. As a matter of fact, to be a little bit more stronger, I say instead of having to do, I'll say go ahead use 60 days instead of 90 days, because 90 days is the industry standard. I use 60 days if I were you, to protect yourself, especially if you're someone who is actively on the social media. I see that you're using a pseudo account. And a lot of times, let me just address this. A lot of time you hear people say, they'll refer to people, oh, it's a fake account. No account on Facebook is fake. It's a pseudo account. All right. A pseudo account is one where you're acting as that account, but you're not the actual account. So it's not fake, but it's just a have that privilege or that right. So yeah, it's a pseudo account, because it does not have the established like a government. That name that is established or the face to name recognition does not exist with this. So when I look at say actual factual, all right, that's a person. It's not a computer that is using this account. So it's not a fake account, but it's just a person who's rather not willing to disclose to the public their actual identity. So they're using a pseudo account. And for those of you who work with Linux, you probably know what that pseudo is. So let me see here.
This me just dropping the link for the Microsoft Authenticator. I was just using my nonprofit account.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. So the Microsoft Authenticator, you can actually go here and download it from that link. It's free, help you out. It's a MFA would be great for voting integrity in Liberia. Oh yes, oh yes, that's a good one, guys. Do we want to take a few minutes? I know we're almost out of time here. Kind of just talk about the MFA in voting or voter registration and
Yeah,
all of those things. Would it help though?
I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
go ahead, go ahead, yeah.
No, you go for it. No, you go for it.
Uh, I mean, sure. I mean, if you follow up from the beginning or actual factual, before we started the whole tech talk, we laid a foundation important things in IT security or in the IT environment is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Every IT security is built around these three factors or three things. Anything that we do, whether it's MFA and teaching password, what they are all meant to defend these three things: the confidentiality of your data or any kind of information, the integrity, and the availability. So, just in a nutshell, confidentiality is that we don't want anybody who doesn't have authorized, an account to have access to these things. Only those are authorized. So again, integrity, we don't want anybody to change anything, to modify. So thinking about the voting, yes, of course. You know, voting records are very, very, very important to the country. So of course, they should be able to preserve some kind of integrity. You know, because if the integrity is compromised, there's a possibility we're not going to have the data available. They might, use a ransomware to kind of hash the data and say, hey, you're going to pay money before I release it. So the three things are very important. So voting, as you said, yeah, of course. I'm surprised if that was not used, but I sniffed around during the election period. The company that was hosting the website for the Liberian election Sunday, they were in Chicago, yeah, it's on a Cloudflare, so
Yeah.
it's not like something that Liberian government have complete control over. So I was actually worried about the integrity of the vote because anybody who is actually, progressive in doing something to that particular voting material could have done that because Cloudflare probably not going to be able to defend that particular voting record.
You're mute, Eric.
You got muted. Eric, you got muted.
Yeah, you only pay for the platform and then they give you your services. So I don't think
Right.
they will sacrifice the services to come, defend the Liberian voting integrity. But of course,
Mhm.
very important that's what we're advocating about here. That's the whole thing we're talking about. The whole tech talk is to make sure that Liberia gets in the habit of bringing technology on board. It's not only going to give integrity, it's going to give some kind of confidentiality, it's going to give even improvements. It's going to, all these auditing we're doing here, asset recovery, all the things we're talking about with technology, all these things are possible. So of course, your question is correct.
Yeah, and I support that, just to reinforce that statement. Yes, definitely if we can incorporate that. I mean, MFA, uh, in a form, it should be included because even if you're using fingerprint to validate people's presence, that is a form of authentication. So yeah, I would support the idea. But like Eric said, if we can even host our own website, come on now. I mean, we are relying on outside vendors to host our website for us. I mean, it's kind of scary. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But this is why, again, we are here having these conversations, and we're doing it on the weekly basis, so that hopefully people can see reason to listen to what we are suggesting, and buy into the idea and say, you know what, hey, this is important. Let us see how best we can start to invest, um, even if we are not ready to construct a physical data center in Liberia, especially for the election commission. I mean, they often reference data center, data center. They don't even have a data center. They have few information, and they always reference it as, oh, our data center, our data center. You don't even have one. All right. Do you even know what a data center is? Do
I
they
know, right?
do they understand what comprises of a data center? And those things are not even taken into consideration. So it makes it difficult. But yeah, guys, I think we have exhausted our time. It's
Okay.
10:15 here. So
Yeah. Yeah, we got 6 minutes left, so we'll do our closing comments and we'll call it a night. So, Eric, you go first.
Well, go for it.
Well, Lofa is always the host, so we'll make him second and then Ali last. And I host it today.
Look at that. Look at that. You got good explanation for that. Okay, okay. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to Tech Talk. Again, the entire scope of the show is not to show people what we know. We don't really care because when we can feed our family, that's what we care about. But
right.
on the other hand, we want to make sure that Liberia is not left behind, for for improvement for technology. Because everybody moving toward technology, we can't keep sitting down doing nothing. So that's why we dedicate our time to kind of talk about little things that we know. We are not professionals. We know do these things, kind of help give some information out there. So thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Or Tech Talk going to be every Sunday, about 8 o'clock Eastern time. So I want to thank my co-panelists for their contribution to the show today. Um, Please share, and then invite other people next time so that we can have at least the more we have watching, the more the word's going to get out there. So thank you for your time.
And then, yeah, great. Thank you. It was a great show. Just quick correction here. Eric said we're not professional. That's not true. We are professional.
We're professional. I am my straps. Nobody taking it from me.
we are professionals.
We're professional. We just know it all.
Right. We are professionals because in our various capacities, what we do in our professional careers, yeah, we are professional people, but we are not in any way, shape, or form claiming to be experts at any of these discussion topics. Neither are we claiming to be perfect at any of it. So yeah, I think it was great, and we appreciate when you guys come out. Please, by all means, feel free to bring the critical questions that will get us thinking. The way we look at it, okay, from a technical perspective, the best way to learn is to teach. That's how we look at that I personally, I'm looking at it from that perspective. If you really want to think or challenge yourself, attempt teaching somebody else who is willing to pose a lot of questions or challenge you. In that process, you will, kind of expand your horizon. You will think about things, and we will not give you all of the answers that you expect to have from us. So there will be time where we will come out here and tell you we will research, and that is often found in IT. Trust me.
Yeah.
A lot of time where you go to your IT team with questions and they tell you, "Oh, you know what? We'll get back to you shortly." That, in other words, they're telling you we're going to research it, and once the solution is available, they will apply that solution. So it's going to be the same thing here. If you got question about anything, do not hesitate. Post your questions. If we don't have the answer right away, we will come back to you. And just to say this out there, if you're a local business in the Liberian community out here that need support, we'll also make ourselves available. Technical support. Reach out to us. We can organize a team to provide support service. All right, for however way you want to do that, so that way we can maintain the level of support within our community. We're not running no business here. All right, ain't no business. But if you need that support, especially for a lot of you non-profit organizations out there that need support, we would like to help in as many ways as possible, even though our focus is geared towards, Liberia, but we will still be willing to help in whatever way possible. So, but it was a great show, Tel. Great topics. Great moderating today. Hopefully you'll do it again next week. And
Yeah,
we'll
of course.
Hey, y'all know how y'all drag me to do this?
Of course. Our second emotion.
No, on a serious note, it was a great show. We want to thank our viewers. They could have been doing anything else but here.
That's
so
right.
we certainly don't take that for granted. We thank you for your time. And please, we can only get better for your feedback. So please let us know how we're doing so we can improve our processes. Also, if you like for us to talk about something that is near and dear to your heart, like, I like what Roy Sepro said. He said, they want you to hit home. This is personal. So if you got something that's near to your heart, drop that topic, get in contact with Lofar, any one of us, and then we'll try our best. We know it all, but we'll try, Right. And if you know somebody who's into tech, whatever it is, bring them on board. The tent is wide, it is big, we're open, we really practice team spirit. So please, we need all hands on deck. We're doing this voluntarily. We tired within the white people community. Let's just say that. So we want to bring it home. Yep. So please join us and have a blessed week. And thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.